When you watch a great magic act, what do you remember about it? Over the last few years, I've had the privilege of seeing some tremendous magic acts. Performers like Rob Zabrecki, Carissa Hendricks, Mike Caveney, and Mac King, just to name a few. What do all of them have in common? Sure, they do some great magic, but they're memorable far beyond the tricks. They provide laughs, a well-defined and interesting character, and a tight script to keep me immersed in their world. In this episode of Erudite Magic, I'm going to focus our attention on books that can help us achieve what they have and not just more tricks. Because while tricks are great, they're really not going to improve your magic. I've read a lot of books about magic and magic-related subjects, and while there are a ton of books that will teach you magic tricks, there are only a few that will teach you how to improve your magic. I'm talking about those moments in between the sleights. The script or presentation, how the audience perceives you, and what kind of story are you telling them. The thoughts that go into routining the trick and the entire act into a cohesive whole. In just a minute, I'm going to share the top 5 books I've come across that will help make you a better performer, for the good of yourself and ultimately for the benefit of your audiences. First, a caveat or two. My goal with this list is to include books that are commercially available. That means that they're sold by more than just the creator or author, and they're still in print in one form or another. This excluded some really great books, like Perform by Tim Hanig or Gene Anderson, The Book. They're both tremendous resources and teach you a lot about becoming an effective performer. But I want to make sure that you can access the material I'm talking about worldwide and wherever great magic books are sold. Speaking of getting great magic books worldwide, I want to tell you about the sponsor of this week's episode, Don's Magic and Books. Don is an online magic retailer based out of Minnesota, and he specializes in magic books. So as I mentioned some of these books that are coming in the list, the first place I would tell you to check is with Don. He not only has the books that are just coming out now, but also some of the older books that have been out of print for a while. He gets these books in and out as he acquires books from people who no longer need them and helps them find a new home where they'll be loved and appreciated. Bookmark his website, which I'll drop down in the description below, and check it frequently because you don't want to miss out on one of these books that you've been looking for to add to your magic library. If any of the books on my list resonate with you, be sure to check them out at Don's Magic and Books. Without any further ado, here are my top 5 books to improve your magic. At number 5, Mastering the Art of Magic by Eugene Burger. I'm starting with this one because it's the most commercial of all. It not only teaches the author's theories on practicing, rehearsing, and performing magic, it also teaches you tricks along the way that illustrate the concepts he's explaining. This book is a collection of pamphlets that were written by Eugene back in the 80s and were consolidated into one book in the early 2000s. Because this is a collection of previously published works, you're getting his updated thoughts on his older ideas and routines. I love it when an author has a chance to revisit earlier thinking. As readers, we get to benefit from their additional years of experience and consideration. This was out of print for some time, but it has been reprinted by Kaufman & Company this year, and I've done a more in-depth review that you can see here. In this book, you'll learn classic tricks like ashes on palm, card spelling, card under glass, bill transposition. There's a lot, especially of close-up magic. But that's not really the important part. He'll also share tips with you on how to get booked, command higher performance fees, connect more intimately with your audience, how to practice, and even the difference between practice and rehearsal. So if you're looking for a killer magic book from one of our art's greatest practitioners, you'll love this early entry into Eugene's world. At number 4, we have Maximum Entertainment. This book is Ken Weber's seminal work on serving as your own director for your magic show. While a second set of eyes and another brain are always preferable, this book will teach you things you can do on your own if you haven't yet arrived at that stage where you can have a dedicated director. There are lots of common sense tips, which ironically are not so common, for improving your act. I'm talking about things like industry benchmarking, scripting and rehearsing, what you should wear, exercises to improve your communication, how to handle participants and give clear instructions, the pillars of successful entertainment. You get the picture. If you've never invested in learning some of the topics that I just discussed, you could do a lot worse than this book. You'll want to read this text several times, especially as you're just getting started, to achieve maximum entertainment for your audiences. There is now a second version, Maximum Entertainment 2.0, which is revised, expanded, and updated. The core principles remain the same, but Ken has updated his discussions with more recent examples and technology available to performers. At number 3, Strong Magic. The late, great Darwin Ortiz shared this masterpiece of magic theory with the community back in 1994. Chances are good that if you ask 10 magicians to name the first magic theory book that comes to their mind, Strong Magic would come out on top of that list. This book changed the face of magic theory when it was released, and nearly 30 years later, it's still shaping the thinking of magicians worldwide. Whether you agree with Darwin's theories or not, you need to consider his well-reasoned approach to magic. It will force you into forming your own opinions and give you a stronger position from which to present your own miracles. The author shares ideas for creating meaning in your presentations that hook your audiences and command their attention. He has lots of ideas for camouflaging the method of a magic trick that will leave your participants feeling a sense of wonder instead of a puzzle to figure out. He further expounds on dealing with the audience, creating a character and an act, along with the why of each component of your show. For example, what should you achieve with your opener? This is a meaty book and one that you'll want to read with a pen and notebook handy because you're going to be taking a lot of notes. At number 2, Showmanship for Magicians. Daryl Fitzkee, the author of this book, is somewhat of a polarizing figure within the world of magic. He wrote 3 books known as the Fitzkee Trilogy, outlining his approach for presenting effective magic. Showmanship for Magicians is the first book in that trilogy and was published all the way back in 1943. You might be thinking, how can something so old still be applicable? But that's the cool thing about magic. So much of what is old is new again. Presentations and themes for tricks come and go, but what actually appeals to an audience hasn't really changed all that much. Regardless, this book has helped multiple generations of magicians develop their own act and find their own voice in their mystery presentations. Although his examples may seem archaic at times, they nevertheless adequately convey the ideas you need to find your own style. For example, how you should dress, what kind of tricks you should perform. Will music add anything to what you're doing? How can you incorporate comedy into your act? In short, this book will teach you how to perform as an individual, you. He'll share how to get ideas for your act, borrowing from the inspirations in your life, how to routine your tricks into a full-blown show, etc. It's one of the smaller and older books that I'm recommending, but it's definitely stood the test of time and helped so many notable magicians, everyone from Mike Caveney to Steve Martin, and you could be the next one to benefit from its wisdom. Number 1 on my list of books to improve your magic is Scripting Magic. Before becoming a teacher, Peter McCabe was a professional script writer, and it was this experience that showed him what magicians are missing: a script. Almost every other performing art, like movies or theater, use an actual written script, while so many magicians tend to wing it or narrate the props. Now I'll shuffle the deck, now you select a card, now you'll return the card. Recognizing the solution to this problem, he wrote Scripting Magic, a book dedicated to showing magicians how to script. He provides the format and the steps to take, but more than that, he shares dozens and dozens of concrete examples to show how a compelling script can elevate a magic performance. Throughout the book, he's obtained permission from some of magic's best script writers to share their work on classic tricks. So if you just want to perform some classic tricks with these professional scripts, you could just perform the pieces as he's sharing them. And since he explains how many of these tricks are done, you'll not only be learning scripts, you'll also be learning some magic. This book, unlike many of the others on my list, is far more focused and niche. Yes, he touches on elements of building character or putting together a show, but the real meat and potatoes is assembling your own scripts. Why is this my number 1 pick? Because every trick you perform needs a script. So even if you don't have a character, use music, or even have an entire act, you just like performing one-off tricks for friends, family, and coworkers. This book has the power to dramatically improve those singular pieces of magic. Trust me when I tell you that creating a document that spells out what you're going to say and do from the audience's point of view will elevate your performances far beyond what you thought was possible. Ultimately, to succeed in magic, you need more than just tricks. Your personality, presentations, manner of dress, and speech all make a much bigger difference to your audience than just the material that you decide to perform for them. So if you're serious about becoming a better magician, read 1, 2, or even all of these titles. What are some of your favorites that didn't make my list? Once you've started to read and apply some of what I talked about in this episode, you may be looking for a mentor to help take you to the next step. And if that's the case, check out this video for more information. As always, my friends, I appreciate you watching, and until next time, keep reading.